Welcome back, you guys. I'm FC. This is Blue Lines TV, and today I'm here to bring you guys another Talking Points video. This time I'm gonna focus solely on false nine Mason Mount. Now, I'm not doing this because I'm obsessed with Mason or that I'm a Mason fanboy, but in last night's win against Spurs, Mason Mount played the crucial part from a strategic point of view, which helped us get that win against Tottenham. And in today's video, I'm going to break down why Thomas Tuchel decided to use Mason Mount as a false nine. I'm going to break down what Mason Mount Tuchel had to say about the false nine role. I'm going to discuss why Mason Mount was suited to play this role too. I'm going to show you guys how the system worked, and to end things, I'm going to break down the future implications of what this false nine role can do for the team. So I hope you guys do enjoy. Smash that like button, and without wasting any more time, let's hear exactly what Mason Mount and Tuchel had to say about Mason's false nine role. Let's start with Mason. As he says, this is the style the manager wants us to play in, and it's been working well. It's something we need to keep working at because it's new, different for some of us. Me today, I was playing a bit like a false nine, dropping into that 10 position and helping the midfield out. We're all learning, but it's going well so far. It's a positive for us and makes it difficult for the teams we come up against. They are never going to know what we come with, so we're working on different formations, different tactics day in, day out at training. We're focused on getting better and better and those wins. You know, you guys, I really like the post-match stuff because you learn so much about the team, what's happening behind the scenes. And now, let's hear what our new manager and Thomas Tuchel had to say. In the end, it's like an orchestra. We have to follow a certain rhythm. We have to follow a certain discipline, a speed, a style. I believe in a disciplined structure. It gives us the chance to play faster because everybody knows where the other guy is. It's giving us the chance to give every player a couple of possibilities to choose. When we lose the ball, we can start effective counter-pressing. But we also want to give possibilities, and it always stays the choice of the players what decision they take. Maybe Mason Mount goes for a different solution than Hakim Ziyech on the same position, but sure, he will then for Kai Havertz, but I absolutely want that they have 1, 2, 3, 4 options to take. There are players that will take the 5th one or the 6th one, and I don't even think about that. So as Tuchel rightly said, he is laying down that tactical framework, the tactical foundations, because this discipline allows for faster football because players know what to do, when, where, at the right times. In a sense, these type of automatisms can make it easier for certain players to play in the team because in a sense that decision-making process is taken away from them. However, this football, this style, this system is not about rigid play. The players have the responsibility to then interpret it how they want, as long as they follow the same guidelines and the framework. So it's very exciting and interesting to hear you guys, but working on so many different formations and positions. Now, let's move on to why Tuchel played Mason Mount as a false nine. And to give you guys a long answer short, it was to get the very best out of Timo Werner. Now, Werner's best qualities do rely very heavily upon his pace and his movement in behind. And with the starting positions that we saw from the players last night, we saw Mason Mount picking up that traditional centre forward role, and we saw Timo Werner playing more down a left hand side with a more withdrawn role. By using Timo Werner in this withdrawn role down the left hand side, which is very, very similar and identical to how Nagelsmann used him last season at Leipzig, you're allowing Timo Werner to fully maximize his pace, his acceleration, alongside his great timing of his runs inside the box. When you play as a false nine, essentially it's about having that player link up with the midfield players. He leaves his starting position by withdrawing deeper in the field, and when this happens, it makes it harder for the opposition defenders to know who to mark and who to pick up. And essentially, when the false nine withdraws deeper, moves deeper between the lines, moves deeper to help the midfield out, you essentially open up those spaces between the opposition fullback and his centre-back partner, allowing for those runs inside the box. Now, we've seen great examples of teams demonstrating how a false nine can be so effective and so dangerous. Of course, we cannot forget the famous Barcelona tiki-taka team with Messi playing as a false nine, alongside players like your David Villas, your Pedros, your Etus, etc, etc. And recently, we saw this with Paris Saint-Germain, with Ibrahimovic playing as a false nine, allowing players like Lucas Moura, Di Maria and Edison Cavani to make those runs inside the box. Now you guys, let's see an example of how this works specifically. As we can see in the photo, let's study the positions of the wingbacks. For example, we can see that Marcos Alonso, his starting position is very close, man v man against Aurier. We can see with Timo Werner, he's positioned deeper behind behind Spurs midfield lines, and this essentially means that whenever Mason Mount drops deeper, Werner could run in behind Ndombele, who's focused more on where Mason Mount is, and in between the spaces left by Aurier and Alderweireld, essentially taking out 3 players from one run. With Werner starting from a deeper position, he can reach his top speed and top pace much faster, and when he does that, there aren't many players around that can stop Werner when it comes to pace. And for another example, this was how Timo Werner was able to help us win that penalty that effectively won us the game in last night's game. As we can see on screen, we can see that Mason Mount is in a deeper position, allowing both Hudson Odoi and Timo Werner, who were acting as those inside forwards, making the runs in behind Spurs. Mount dropping deeper allowed for 2 runs to be made in behind, and Azpilicueta, who on the day demonstrated some exceptional through balls from deep. He effectively played that pass that allowed Timo Werner to run in behind and win the penalty from the second ball situation. Let's examine even deeper what the false 9 system brought to the team. Now, Mason Mount was tasked with operating between the lines, with helping out the midfield players too, and identifying when to make the right overloads. And of course, with a role like this, where it's very tactically demanding, where you need to have the right technical abilities too, the work rate on top of that as well, this actually suited Mason Mount down to a T. As we can see on screen, you guys, Mason Mount would drop deeper behind the Spurs midfield lines, where he would then become that free option unmarked in tons of space. When this happened, this was the trigger for players like Timo Werner and Hudson Odoi to make those deep diagonal runs in behind Spurs defensive line, thus essentially taking out the Spurs midfield. As we can see on screen, we can see Werner and Hudson Odoi in between the spaces left by the Spurs fullback and defender, creating those 2v1 moments. For example, Werner would start the run from in behind Aurier before making that diagonal run in between the defense, and as I stress, runs like this would effectively take out 3 Spurs players down that side, freeing up absolute space for Marcos Alonso to then move inside the box unmarked. And in a sense, you can now understand why Tuchel has been using Alonso as his left wing back. On the screen too, we can see Reece James playing down the other side, forming a 1v1 moment against Davies, with Azpilicueta stepping up to attract the attention of Holberg. Now, this is where Mason Mount enters the picture, because as you can see, now this is where Mason Mount's qualities as a space identifier really shone through in last night's win. For example, his starting position was alongside the Spurs defense. Whenever he dropped deeper, Mount could then identify what he had to do. For example, there are moments where Mount and Hudson Odoi would swap responsibilities. Let's say, for example, Hudson Odoi decided to drop deeper, Mason Mount would then make that run in behind the vacated space left by Hudson Odoi. In another example, when Jorginho and Kovacic were found marked by the Spurs defense, Mount, who was able to leave his position, was able to find space in those half-space areas, which meant that Jorginho and Kovacic had a constant outlet to relieve themselves from pressure. Of course, with Mason Mount coming in from behind Spurs midfield lines, it meant that no one could actually mark him in the game. When it came to playing down the right hand side, playing as a false 9, Mount was able to help create those 3v2 overloads, and by doubling up alongside your Hudson Odois. This meant that Werner was free down the opposite flank, which also meant that Marcos Alonso, who then had no one marking him, was left completely unopposed. And you know, after seeing the game again, it made me realise why Alonso has been playing as a left wing back in Tuchel's system, because we know that he has great finishing qualities. He attacked the ball very well inside the box, and it's this type of fluidity. A fluidity which we actually suffered ourselves when we lost 3-1 against Man City just a few weeks ago. And it's this type of fluidity in which Tuchel was talking about and what Mason Mount was talking about. And it's why it's got me even more excited as the season goes on. Now, to give my thoughts and opinions, to give my conclusions on this game, on Mason Mount and the false 9 system. For me, I've been saying this for a while, but I'm going to say this again because it's something that I've seen for a while, because I've watched Mason Mount play ever since he was in our youth academies. I've seen his qualities and I feel like I know what he can become. If De Bruyne is the standards for players that play in the same role as Mason does, Mason Mount knows what example to follow to potentially, hopefully one day reach those same heights that Kevin De Bruyne has now set. And actually think about it for a second, you guys. With De Bruyne, he's able to play as a 10. We've seen him play as a false 9 too this season for Man City. He's played down the flanks, he's played in the half spaces, he's played as an 8 in midfield. And to be a player in the Kevin De Bruyne role, you need to have incredible work rate. You need to have a great understanding of space, how to identify it, how to manipulate it. You need to be able to play at pace. You need to have a great, strong tactical understanding too. You have to be comfortable receiving with your back behind the play. You need to have great technical ability too. And already in Mason Mount's very young Chelsea career, we've seen him play in a multitude of different positions. Last season playing in a variety of number 10 roles, as a shadow striker, sometimes as that advanced playmaker. We've seen him play down the left hand side as a winger. We've seen him play as an 8 in midfield too. We're now seeing Mason Mount playing as a false 9. And in a sense, this false 9 position kind of encapsulates all the best qualities that Mount has. Now, what's very interesting is what this also means for a certain Mr. Kai Havertz, because in his final season, in that second half for Bayer Leverkusen, we saw him play extremely well as a false 9 striker. Only Kai Havertz had more responsibilities to get inside the box and finish those moves off. So, you know, it's going to be very exciting and interesting to see what happens as the future goes on. If we start to see more of a false 9 position, what could this mean for players like Giroud and Tammy Abraham? What could this mean for certain transfer targets like Erling Haaland? And considering the strength we have in these number 10 positions, considering we have players in Ross Barkley and Loftus-Cheek that can also play in a cam position that could greatly benefit playing alongside a false 9. Is this Thomas Tuchel thinking of the future, planning ahead, and hoping to take our game even further? You guys, as I'm stressing, there is still so much to learn from Thomas Tuchel. It's been such a joy to, watch these games again, and you're picking up on details, you're learning new things, and on top of that, you're constantly being surprised by the tactics you're seeing too. So honestly, you guys, this is a great time to be in right now. And on that note, I'm going to wrap things up, keep things moving. In the comments below, give your thoughts and opinions. Who do you prefer to see as a false 9 as the season goes on? I'm EFC, this is Blue Lines TV. I'll catch you guys later with some more videos.